So Titian has over 750 years of sample management experience. My example being years at Pfizer, with 10 years in sample management looking after rapid closed loop work. And since then, 12 years at Titian looking after rapid sample management loops. With this experience, we thought it might be time to share some of that experience with you from our insights, and even in the future, maybe bring in non-Titian folk to share their experiences. So for the first meeting, I thought I would start with Arthur Yarwood, a fellow product manager at Titian. Arthur, what have your roles been pre and post joining Titian? Introduce yourself.
So, yeah, before I joined Titian, I spent 11 years in the computer games industry working for Sony, created many PlayStation 2 and 3 games. I've been at Titian since then about nearly 12 years. I've been heavily involved with a lot of the integrations with many liquid handling machines and writing plugins and integration with numerous kind of scheduling software that accompanies these machines. Since then, I've recently moved into as a technical product manager here at Titian, where I'm looking more into understanding what customer requirements are and working more closely with vendors and basically evaluating customer needs to drive a design of kind of most optimal Mosaic solutions for what they need.
So that most optimal is what success looks like, or what does success look like when we've designed something properly?
Exactly. It's a case of trying to develop features that can solve a lot of the kind of hardships, right? And as many customers as possible, the kind of bottlenecks in their workflows that slow them down, any areas where there's a lot of manual input, a lot of effort in trying to set up runs and fulfill work, and basically leverage what the machines and the software can do to its full capabilities, and make operators' life as easy as possible.
Not so much individual developments, but trying to make a product that's helpful for more of the customers. Okay. We've, since Mosaic 8, been working on mixtures, pooling, combinations. That's one of the major additions to Mosaic. And yeah, that's happened through the life period of Mosaic 8. We are now on Mosaic 9. But, over that changing period, could you summarize what's happened with mixtures from potentially the database side all the way up?
Of course. So I think the first step was, as you mentioned, enhancing the Mosaic database and inventory database that we have to model and store these mixtures, to track multiple components in a single sample holder and their relative concentrations and such like. Beyond that, it was being able to track the creation of these mixtures, maybe in an ad hoc fashion from various liquid handlers, and record what happened on the machine and many dispensers into a single well, and basically have the accountability and traceability there. More recently, Mosaic 8.6, we introduced the Mosaic ordering, which was the ability for requesters to stipulate and order what samples they would like to mix together for whatever science or business process they have. They can stipulate which pools of items need to go together, and then all the enhancements will then take in that, validating it, make sure the workflows are feasible, achievable within the limits of the machine, etc. And then track that as a workflow and facilitate operators basically fulfilling that on various machines. And as time's gone on beyond there, we've been essentially extending each of our fulfillment modules to support mixtures. Initially, it was offline processing, and then TFM, tempo integrations. Following that, we had high-res integrations supporting mixtures. And then more recently, in Mosaic 9, we now have VSLH supporting mixture creation on your Tecans, your Hamilton Stars, your IMX, etc.
Right. So as per usual, you've used an abbreviation. So VSLH stands for?
Very span liquid handler, which is slightly out of date name, as it no longer is limited to just Verispan heads. It does also support fixed heads. So this could be your MCA head on your Tecan, your Core 96 head on your Hamilton Star, or your Biomech with a block header as well. We support.
But these are the sort of machines that have a work bed and the pipetting heads move over the top of them.
Exactly. Yes.
And usually tip based.
Usually tip based. Yes.
So is that, you were talking about mixtures, is there a limit to the number of items you can mix together? I mean, you're already saying that science moves forward.
Of course.
so can we cope?
There is no kind of enforced limit within the Mosaic system and the code. Obviously, at certain points, there could be performance considerations and scalability considerations there. That said, we do have customers who are putting 5,000 samples in a single well, building up DNA libraries and such like. We have other customers filling up whole 384 plates with 500 samples in each well. So we do know for a fact that we support very large scale mixture creation.
Okay. So you're saying Verispan liquid handling came with mixtures with Mosaic 9. How, what's the science? What was the need behind that?
So that the lead customer there was doing a lot of kind of biological workflows. They were building DNA libraries, like I just mentioned, in tubes. They are doing antibody engineering, mixing heavy light chains together and kind of growing that, a lot of protein expression and such like. So that's that kind of small scale workflows on these Verispan heads. That's the sort of use cases we're seeing a lot of.
But larger scale than the normal acoustic dispensing.
Exactly. In those sort of scenarios, we're seeing a lot of mass spec kind of affinity screen selection, mixing various samples together. And we've got special kind of ordering code there that can space out your samples based on the molecular weight automatically, so you can then identify them more easily in the screening steps later on.
Okay. So lots of other things came with Mosaic 9 for Verispan liquid handling. What about dynamic tip selection? Why is that important?
So that's a really great feature, actually. So this allows you to use different tip types within a single run on your Verispan liquid handler. So if you've got a workflow where you've got varying volumes, varying labware types, and you want to use a different tip type, different parts of this run to get better accuracy, efficiency, etc., you can now do that. So take, for example, a workflow where you have many samples that need to be normalized, and you might need varying volumes of sample transfers and diluent transfers to bring them all to a normalized concentration. It makes more sense to use a higher tip capacity for the larger volumes, a lower tip capacity for the smaller volume transfers, just to improve the accuracy on the smaller volumes and obviously the efficiency and speed on the larger volume transfers. So now VSLH, it will evaluate the workflow, look at the transfers that are involved, and suggest the appropriate tip types that you might want to use within that run for the different groups of transfers, and then automatically schedule that, swapping the appropriate tips as needed during the run. Great way to fulfill such a very workflow in one run. You don't have to kind of stop and break it up yourself. You've got that kind of walk away time. You don't have to worry about kind of micromanaging the run, as it were. It's all back to making operators' life more efficient, essentially. Yeah.
So what other things have been joined to VSLH and Mosaic 9? Rack scanners? Did I see that?
There was, yes. So there's new features to support 2D rack scanners from the likes of Zaya, Thermo, Azenta. And here what you can do is you can perform a scan, back scanning run before your liquid transfer run, where we would evaluate the tubes in a rack. If there's a source rack, we can just confirm they are the right tubes in the expected locations. If they're not, we can update the inventory just to correct things before you kick off the run. And then if it's a destination rack, we can use those rack barcodes to pre-register those tubes in the inventory. So you get full kind of accountability there as well. So great new feature there.
One other thing, we were talking about tip touching and liquid classes. So in liquid classes, we can detect the top of the liquid level to dispense, and that's fairly standard, isn't it? For
yes. So we have liquid level detection within our Tecan driver, the EvoWare driver previously, where we could respond to any kind of transfer failures that come out of that detection. If there's an unexpectedly empty source well, for instance. Recently in Mosaic 9, that has been brought forward into the Fluent control driver from Tecan. So you've got the same support there. It's just a great way just to give you that accountability in case your source samples aren't, up to scratch, basically. Yeah.
On there.
On there, yeah.
maybe too solid or gel-like or whatever. Yes, yeah, I've lived the dream. Yeah, you've discussed earlier fulfillment modules. What is the difference between, and as per usual, lots of abbreviations, CFM, TFM, and JFM?
A lot of FMs, yes.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with freezer management. So we have our TFM, our tempo fulfillment module, which is what integrates with the Beckman tempo scheduler. We have CFM, which integrates with Cellario scheduler for the high-res platforms. Both of these are very much kind of specific to those two vendors. We're very kind of targeted integration that fully fits with how the tempo application or the Cellario application works and prepares data in the appropriate manner for those two applications. Then we've got the JFM, which is the job fulfillment module. And this is more of a generic offering. The idea being here, the customer or other vendor and integrate with JFM, and then we get a standard kind of job specification coming from this machine, this application, that would outline all of the work transfers that need to be performed, and an integrator, third-party integrator, could utilize that, take those transfers, drive whatever application or machine they have, and then report transfers that have been fulfilled. And we have some work underway at the moment from BioZero. We're going to be using this, and well, it's a space to watch. And it's a great way for other vendors and machines to be integrated without necessarily writing a whole new fulfillment module from scratch.
Okay. So better for us, but also allows other vendors to integrate with Mosaic.
Exactly. And similarly, if you've got a customer who's got a homegrown, home-built system, could be an option there as well.
Opening the door to Mosaic integrations. Okay. Thank you, Arthur. That was insightful.
Not a problem.
Thank you, everyone else, for your time. And any questions, please send them to info@titian.co.uk. Thank you.